Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and if you've been watching recently, you realize I've gotten a new camera, the DJI Osmo Action Camera, at your guys' request in order to try and get some underwater footage for you. So I thought we would take it and drop it into some of the bins today and just get an idea of fry counts and take a look around and see what makes summer tubbing so successful. Now this is one of my Laguna rectangular tubs that's relatively shallow that houses my Orysius wolverae as well as my celestial pearl danios. And as we look around, you'll see that there is quite a lot of fry. One of the reasons that these shallow tubs are so successful is that the root masses from the water hyacinth, as well as all the plants that are emergent growth but send runners down into the water, really fill a vast quantity of the water column. And what this does is it allows the fish to lay their eggs, and it allows the fry to hatch and then hide deep within these thick frondy growths of roots. And that, coupled with the amount of live food that is available, really makes it so that the adults don't tend to predate on the eggs or the fry. So the yields are really large, and you can see just how dense this is, especially in these shallow tubs. I don't remember how many exactly I moved out of the Orysius wolverae, but all the little glowing blue eyes that you see are those fish. Now there's also a fair amount of CPD fry, but they're substantially smaller and they stay very, very tight up to the water's surface. Now, this tub is the one that houses my Trigonostigma espe, or the lamb chopper asboras, and I'm not actually sure if I have fry yet. It's just started getting really hot around here, and these guys generally spawn in a bit warmer temperatures. But in this tub as well, you can see that's a lily bucket right in front of us that is set on the bottom of the tub, and the fish are hanging out down there, and there's pretty pronounced growth of aerial roots from the plants that are planted up at the surface. Now this particular tub has a lily planted and it has some Venezuelan poppy, but it doesn't have any other actual technical underwater plants. All of this root growth is roots being sent down from the plants planted up at the surface, and it's going to work as an exceptional spawning mop for these fish when they're ready. As you see, they are definitely fired up and in good condition and just about ready to go. I imagine it will happen anytime now. Up next, we're going to look into my 300-gallon Meteor minnow tub. Now, historically, this tub is exceptionally successful, and this season is no different. If you look right up at the water surface, you'll see tons of teeny tiny black fry, and those are just probably a couple of days old, super recently hatched. And as we look deeper into the water, you'll see some of the adults as well as various sizes of other fish. But you'll also notice that this bin is almost impenetrable with the camera. I have to pull it in and out a lot. There's lily blooms, there's hyacinth, and there's all of the baskets that I have planted around the edges. And it's really made for a very incredible mat that allows for the fish to spawn so successfully in this tub. I'm pretty excited to see the yield that I get this year. Now, this is the first year I've had the ability to check the tubs like this, and I have to tell you, I find it pretty fascinating because it really shows the difference between our carefully curated aquariums and this sort of more natural approach that really allows for the fish to breed super readily. Here you can see at the water surface on top of the lily pads that have been submerged that there is a ton of fry hanging out in that super shallow water. Now, I do find that with a lot of the minnows and the smaller danios, etc., that the fry do tend to hug the water surface, which is why it's so critically important to utilize surface floating plants like the salvinia you see here, as well as the water hyacinth. All in all, I think this tub's a pretty great success. Now, this is the little resin whiskey barrel, and I moved out some Endler's live bears into here, and as you can see, there's already quite a bit of fry. I just moved them out this past week. I was sort of on the fence about what to put in here and decided I'd just toss some Endler's. I tossed out a male and 2 females, and as you can see, fry are already growing well. And again, this particular container only utilizes that Laguna floating basket, but again, you can see all the aerial roots that are coming through the basket and from the creeping Jenny that I planted at the water surface. Now, I know that no video would be complete with summer tubbing without checking in on the baby goldfish. I tend to not bother them, but as you can see, they're getting quite big and robust in this tub through no intervention of mine at all. Again, this tub is planted with a water lily and a bunch of plants in another Laguna floating basket, and you can see how dense the growth of those plants has gotten, most specifically that creeping Jenny that really grows really nicely under the water when you keep some of it out of the water. I think these little goldfish look pretty happy, and I'm excited to see what they turn into. Just the incredible growth that they've put on is really impressive, and I think that they look very healthy so far. Cute little guys. You can see as well that there's some pest snails in all of these tubs. I didn't add them. It's likely that they came in with the plants. But yeah, these guys are super happy. And that sort of pulsing sound you hear is the solar pump, because it was not full sun, so it was just getting pulses of energy, allowing for it to circulate the water. But again, that's not at all been an issue for either the plants or the fish in this particular tub. I thought next we would head out to the greenhouse and take a look around and see if we could get any visuals on the shrimp. It's a unique obstacle with my good camera, let alone this action camera, to really visualize any of the shrimp, but I thought we'd give it a go. This is the yellow tub, and it might be kind of hard to see, but there are baby shrimp all over the place in this tub. Of course, we see an adult straight ahead. You can see a little bit of mosquito larvae floating around in the water column, as well as a bunch of Daphnia and other copepods. I will have to utilize my BTIs again in my shrimp tubs in order to curtail the amount of mosquito larvae that develop, since they don't readily predate on them. But you can see there's also quite a lot of shrimp in this tub, and again, it's a super simple setup. It just has some plants that predominantly grow along the surface. These shrimp tubs do tend to get a fair amount of algae, but I don't mind, as the shrimp graze on them pretty much nonstop and seem to do quite well. The water zinnia in the greenhouse has gone absolutely bonkers and is growing from one end to another, and I'll probably do an update video on those plants sometime in the near future. Up next, we're going to spy in on those barred pencilfish. Now, I wasn't even sure that the fish were still alive until I stuck the camera in this bin, and as you can see, they're doing pretty well. Now, I didn't see any noticeable fry, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. I may move out some denser plant growth into this particular bin, but the fish themselves look super healthy, and they were all accounted for, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Up next, we're just going to spy in on the cherry shrimp. Now, again, this is another one where I can't control the focus of this camera, but all the little red you see everywhere is cherry shrimp, and they are going absolutely gangbusters, as are the Rillies and the Blues and the Malawas that I moved outside. It's still pretty early in the season, but it seems as though this is going to be a great one. As always, thanks so much for your guys' continued support. I am going to continue to work with this camera to try and get more and more footage for you, so stay tuned for that.